Shame on Family Court has been prepared for information purposes only. The information on this YouTube channel is not legal advice, nor is any creator of this channel a licensed attorney in any state. Legal advice is dependent upon the specific circumstances of each situation. Also, the law may vary from state to state, so that some information on this channel may not be considered jurisdiction. Finally, the information contained herein is not guaranteed to be up to date. Therefore, the information contained on this channel cannot replace the advice of competent legal counsel licensed in your respective state/jurisdiction.
This is my story. In the 1990s, while attending college, I met a woman that was 9 years older than me. When I met her, she had a full-time job that paid her $10 per hour, and she lived by herself in a basement apartment in the suburbs of a big city. The romance was very fast. We got engaged 2 months after dating and were married after knowing each other for only 6 months. I had just graduated from college with an engineering degree, and she made it very clear that she would not live with me and wanted to be married in order to stay together. We ended up spending nearly 20 years together and having 2 children. What follows is my story. I hope I can help anyone else who has been through something similar. I want you to know that you are not alone in your suffering, both at the hands of a woman of this type and the injustice of family court. I warned you I would make your life a living hell if you ever tried to leave me. But why? I have been an excellent provider for you and our 2 children. I have been a good father and husband who has supported all of your endeavors and our children's for nearly 20 years. Okay, I've made mistakes just like you or anyone else, but I have always tried to be a good husband and father. You had 20 years of my support to do any career or education you ever wanted. You flat refused to go into the workforce. Instead, you chose all sorts of pyramid marketing projects that you never followed through with. Why do you believe that being a mother entitles you to get spousal support from me for the rest of your life? That's not fair for anyone. Why can't we just be kind to one another and co-parent our children in harmony? You married me! You should support me for the rest of my life. I shouldn't have to work. You want some kind of high school romance after 20 years? That's ridiculous. We don't have to be lovey-dovey with each other after 20 years. You know, I tried everything I could think of, including counseling, just to get you to see that I'm not feeling fulfilled. This marriage has become more of a roommate dynamic than a marriage. This is not what a marriage is or supposed to be. You keep telling me that we've been married for too long to be like boyfriend and girlfriend, and you say I'm ridiculous for wanting an actual romance with my spouse. No, I'm not ridiculous for wanting to be with someone who actually loves me as I love them. I think it is sad that you believe a marriage is supposed to be like the unhappy marriage your parents had. That's not a marriage at all. Your mother is unforgivably cruel to your father, and your father just exists in the background, barely clinging to his unhappy life. It's so sad it is hard to watch, and I do not want to be like them in 20 years. Please, just try to be reasonable for the sake of our 2 kids. This is all your fault. You should support me and support your children for the rest of my life. I'm a wife and mother, and I don't need to work. Your children will hate you for what you've done to me and to them. You're abandoning us because you're selfish and you want some kind of girlfriend or something. That's stupid, and it just doesn't exist. You know what? I should have kicked your motorcycle wheels out from under your bike years ago. What? How could you even think such a thing about someone you've been married to for almost 20 years and made 2 children with? Because I hate you, and I'm going to make you suffer for leaving us. Your children will hate you, and you will die alone. I sincerely hope you get some counseling for your anger, and you're able to control your emotions and at least attempt to co-parent with me like a civilized human being. You know, I guess we're going to have to leave this up to the courts to decide our fate. You know what? I will never let you take my children away from me.
As your attorney, I would advise you to just give her what she wants to keep the peace. If you give her custody, you can avoid her putting your 17-year-old son on the stand and forcing him to testify, which will cause him tremendous stress. Children caught in the middle of custody disputes never come out unscathed. Look, since your wife is threatening to put your son on the stand, I suggest giving in to her demands in the name of keeping the peace. Most of these women come to their senses and are able to co-parent and share custody of their children without the further need for court intervention. It's best to try and move forward with your life without putting undue stress on your children.
I don't want to lose my children. I love them, and I want to be able to be a father to them even though I'm not living with their mother anymore. She's threatening all sorts of awful things, and my son is telling me she's already making life absolutely unlivable for him in the house. You know, he called me the other night because his mother is continuously berating me in front of him, and get this, his 19-year-old friends. She is even telling my son and his friends that I was inadequate as a lover when we were married. I just don't know how to get her to stop poisoning our children with these horrid tales she concocts.
Listen, I've done so many divorces in my career. Most of them start out contentious and difficult, but people tend to calm down and settle into their new lives. Most begin dating and have eventually let go of their anger. You just have to, give her time. In the meantime, we can try and negotiate a settlement that the two of you can agree to so that you both can move on with your lives. I don't know how I feel about this, but I agree. It's awful. It's the only choice I have is whether or not to subject my two children to her wrath, or just let her keep them. I mean, that's no choice at all. She's clearly going to make things miserable for our two children, so, the only option I have is to follow your advice and let her have custody of the two children, and hopefully I can get reasonable visitation and overnights with the kids. I just want to make sure I can still be part of their lives and continue to be a father to both of them. I thought family court laws made parents equal in the eyes of the law. Is this really the only option I have?
Look, it's better to try and appease her until her anger subsides. The key factors here will be the spousal support you'll be paying her, the child support, and then there's the matter of the property to be distributed between the two of you. Now, as you know, property you came into the marriage with is not considered marital property. We're just talking about the things you have both acquired during the marriage. Those things should be split equally between the two of you. I suggest getting a moving truck and picking up your personal belongings, which are things that belong only to you, like clothing, jewelry, and keepsakes. I can arrange it with her lawyer so you can pick up your belongings and we can settle the matter of the remaining household items, property, and all that other stuff in negotiations.
You have no right to be here and take any of my things. You left so you can speak to my lawyer if you want anything from me.
Oh, come on. This isn't right and you know it. You can't keep me from my personal belongings. Why can't you just be reasonable?
I'm never letting you in the house. I'm calling the police. You have no right to be here.
This is crazy. You are the one who filed for divorce. Now you won't even let me get my own personal belongings? This is crazy. But you know what? Fine. Call the police. All they're going to tell you is that I have a right to get my stuff out of the house. We'll see about that.
He is trying to come into my house. He doesn't live here anymore. He has no rights to come into my house. I want him to leave.
This is a domestic dispute which cannot be handled with police, ma'am. You're going to need to go to court to settle this before a judge. Legally, your husband has the right to enter the residence and collect his personal belongings.
Look here, I know my rights. My friends told me he can't come into my home. He needs to leave.
Ma'am, as I said, he has a legal right to enter the residence and collect his personal belongings. Please, be reasonable, ma'am, and allow him to enter the residence, get his things, and go on his way.
No, I'm not letting him in the house. He can call my lawyer. I am not letting him in my house, and that is final. Get him off of my property.
Look, I'm really sorry, sir. There's not much I can do since it's a domestic dispute. You do have the right to enter the home to collect your personal belongings, but unfortunately it seems like that will only cause more anger and fuel whatever she's angry with you for. I think it's best if you just leave and call your lawyer or make some alternative arrangements for you to get your stuff out of the house.
Oh my God, this can't be happening. How could she keep me from getting my own personal belongings? I paid for this home and everything in it, and now I can't even collect personal items? This is crazy.
I'm sorry, sir. I really am. But my job in this situation is to simply keep the peace as best I can. She is clearly very angry, so unfortunately the best thing I can do is ask you to try and go through your attorney and maybe contact us for a police escort when the arrangements have been made. I know it's not fair, but there really isn't much I can do.
Good grief. I never thought she'd get this nasty. I guess I should have collected my personal belongings before I left the house. I just had no idea she would be this bad. I guess it's true what they say. No happy marriage ends in divorce. Mom, I gotta tell you, I have no idea how I was married to this woman for nearly 2 decades. She is so completely unreasonable. She has taken thousands of dollars out of our children's college fund, and now she's refusing to allow me access to any money or any of my belongings. I'm going to have to fight her in court for every little thing that belongs to me. This is crazy.
What? Oh, I warned you about that woman. Her own mother warned Dad and I at your college graduation. Her mother told me, whatever you do, don't let your son marry my daughter. He seems like such a nice young man. We all knew she was an evil woman. Even your grandma didn't like her, and she likes everybody. She'll never be reasonable. Not ever.
You know, I'm hoping she'll be reasonable, but she's telling me now I can't even see the kids. She's refusing to let me have them for any of the upcoming holidays, or even to have our daughter for an overnight. It's just not right. She shouldn't be able to keep the kids from me just because she's their mother. She acts as though they are pieces of furniture and they belong to her. It's just so unfair. I don't go back to court until after the holidays are over. Is she really going to be able to keep the kids from me for the entire holiday season? Stay tuned to see what happens next. In the meantime, what have we learned? As always, please like, subscribe, and share so we can help other fathers in the same situation. And they are definitely out there. What have we learned? Well, first, we have learned that it is not wise to make rash decisions when determining you are ready to leave your spouse. This requires planning. But the moment you let the cat out of the bag that you're done, your spouse can unleash holy hell upon you and your life. It is far better to make a plan to vacate your marital residence, but make sure those plans include time for you to pack up your personal belongings and retrieve half of the funds available in your jointly held checking and savings accounts. You have a right to half, no more, no less. But make no mistake, if you don't take those funds before you leave, you may never see them. Judges in family courts seem to overlook monies a wife takes for herself. If I had to do it all over again, I would have taken half of the joint bank account funds and packed up my personal belongings little by little so as not to draw any undue attention to my plans. This would have made for a far more peaceful exit and far less opportunities for her to mistreat me during the process. I also would have waited until after the holiday season, because family courts are extremely busy during the holidays, and judges tend to take vacations, forcing you to wait for you to see your children. You may wait months before you see them again, while your soon-to-be former spouse withholds them from you with no issue. The goal is to vacate the home and marriage with as little damage to yourself and your children as possible. Don't forget, while you're away, it is entirely possible that your spouse is telling your children horrible tales of how you abandoned her and them. If she is vindictive or unable to control herself and her emotions, she may also use your children as her emotional backstop. This is totally inappropriate conduct for a parent, and the hope is that your spouse will not do this. But don't count on that. As I have said since I left her, if she was unreasonable in marriage, she will be unreasonable in divorce. That is a guarantee.